Let's talk to Isabel Oakeshott, who will be, I think, just as annoyed about this as I am. Isabel, very good morning to you.
Oh, good morning. Well, I was just thinking about Rachel Reeves being in charge of cash points, and actually, if she were in charge of cash points, it would be one of those ones that charges you like several pounds to take out your own money.
Exactly.
That's basically what this government
Yeah.
does.
Yes.
Isn't it?
You asked for £35. We're giving you 27.
Yeah, thanks for that. That
Yeah.
basically sums up most of our lives, doesn't it?
It does. But also this, I mean, there's nothing worse, it seems to me. Surely they must be embarrassed. If you're Downing Street and you put up a tweet from a minister which is actually corrected by Twitter, which says, actually, you're lying, and the 35,000 you're claiming isn't true.
I mean, I just don't know if this government does embarrassment, because otherwise they would all have resigned by now.
Oh.
I mean, every moment of every day is an embarrassment. Look at one in, one out that we've been highlighting just how few out that actually is. I think the latest tally is 42, but as you said, all of those to be replaced by people that are definitely staying.
Right.
So, how's that leave anyone any better off? I mean, it is absolutely shambolic, it's scandalous, and we continue to give the French police hundreds of millions of pounds to do absolutely nothing except watch and monitor and wave them on their way. It is truly shocking.
I mean, to be fair, having been able to watch the French police at work in Paris protecting the Louvre, it doesn't really surprise us that they can't stop the migrants, even if they wanted to.
Yes, I mean, I think this is just a cultural thing in France, isn't it? They're very heavily unionised workforces. They get paid very nicely to just keep things ticking over. And the last thing they want is people like us exposing how little they do. They're very, very hostile. The French, the gendarmes and the military police, if you get anywhere near trying to track what they are doing, or rather not doing, they don't turn on the migrants, they turn on you, the reporter, and we've got first-hand experience of that happening.
Yeah, exactly right. But I mean, again, we get story after story now, and the stories don't stop. And in fact, if anything, they increase. As the sort of the do-gooders keep telling us, well, a lot of people that come here are coming here out of desperation. I mean, two stories today. Asylum seekers at a migrant hotel have been jailed for attacks on a policeman and a doctor. They were both staying at the same hotel in Bournemouth, believe it or not, because there are 3 apparent hotels in Bournemouth currently being used for migrants. This one was called the Roundhouse Hotel. One of them's from Afghanistan, called Akmal Sifa, 23 years of age, ripped off a metal window blind and used it to assault a GP when he was refused medication in September. Meanwhile, another one, a Sudanese national called Khalid Mohammed, aged 22, kicked a police officer in the chest when he was arrested over a drunken disturbance in March. I mean, these stories just keep coming up now almost every day.
They do, and I think we should all be grateful to the insiders in these hotels that actually tip us off about this stuff, because there's no way the government is readily putting forward this information. I mean, the scale of abuse inside these migrant hotels is absolutely appalling. We showed at the end of last week on Kev's show some pictures of trashed hotel rooms. I've received more such images over the weekend, including one image where the occupant of a migrant hotel room had smashed a pitcher because the pitcher has a wine bottle in it.
Right.
And he smashed it on the basis that alcohol is not part of his culture, so he can't bear to look at the picture on the wall of the hotel room. I mean, mate, how about you maybe take the picture down, turn it around, give it back, something like that? But oh no, let's just smash up the room.
Yeah.
And now I hear so much, there are people providing information on a daily basis of what is going on inside these hotels. And, the untold, one of the many untold stories is the cost of repairing and putting right these hotel rooms, both on an ongoing basis, but also when the properties are handed back to the owners. I mean, this, I think, is a hundreds of millions scandal, perhaps even more than that, because we know what contractors are like. If they know they're working for the taxpayer, it's just kind of, let's just make up a number, isn't it? And there is no public information about the cost of these repairs. But I can see from my own knowledge of the damage that is routinely done, and the fact that experts and professionals and skilled tradespeople have to come in and put it all right again, that this is a gargantuan cost to the taxpayer.
Right, it is. And also, I thought we were told some months ago by this government, but I think it was before Shabana Mahmood became Home Secretary, that we were somehow doing away with putting migrants in hotels, and there was a strident action by the government, by this Labour government, to reduce the number of hotels being used, and they were going to move these people into other sorts of accommodation. I seem to remember Keir Starmer saying there was plenty of accommodation to put them in. Some of it might have been rehousing them in student accommodation. Some of it might have been ex-military. You know, I seem to remember him being before the liaison committee at some point or other saying all of that, and none of that seems to be happening. There doesn't seem to be any reduction whatsoever in the number of hotels being used, and doesn't seem to be any reduction in the amount of money that it's costing us.
Well, I think you missed the crucial part of what they said, which gave away the poverty of their ambition. This is by 2029, isn't it? You know, they're going to phase them out.
Oh, yeah.
Not much phasing has happened, and actually, you know, I think voters have a mixed view of this. Whilst everyone hates the hotels, they hate the spectacle of people coming over illegally and being put up in these luxury settings and then potentially even abusing that. They do have one very small upside, which is that they are kind of recognised hubs, and we know where these people are accommodated. The opposite strategy is this sort of what they're calling the scatter or dispersal strategy of housing these individuals in houses of multiple occupancy, sort of basically private rental accommodation, you know, all over the place, which means they could be coming to a house next to you. Now, some of them may well be very nice and very charming and, you know, very grateful for their possibility of a new life in the UK. The trouble is that a great number of them are completely impoverished and coming from countries where they have wholly different life experiences and values, and they are simply struggling to adapt to this completely different landscape. And we know what that results in. It results in all the horrible assaults and abuses and thefts and drug dealing and all the rest of it that we hear about. And this just isn't us at Talk kind of saying, oh, these awful migrants, they do these things. We see these in court cases every day.
We do. And again, the paper's full this morning of stories of woe based around people who really, perhaps you can say it without really any fear of being corrected, who shouldn't have been here. I mean, the story on page 9 of Daily Mail today is a woman, a Muslim convert, mother of 5, Elizabeth Davis, aged 46. She met the jihadi killer from Manchester, the synagogue killer, Jihad al-Shami, on the Muzmatch app. There is such a thing, believe it or not. Muzmatch, which is where you meet people if you're a Muslim looking for love. And she says that he threw me in a bed and raped me, and he was basically a man who was out of control and was always going to commit some kind of horrible crime like the one he committed. He came here as a child, of course, from Syria, and you just think to yourself, you know, why are all these people here, and why are they all committing these horrible crimes, and what can we do about it?
Well, there's plenty we can do about it if we actually had the will, and we go round in circles saying the same thing. But of course, we've got to leave the ECHR, that set of laws, international laws that so many activists, lawyers rely on, and we've got to mean business. You know, we have simply got to deport people when they break the rules, and that can be for the smallest thing. I think if you trash your hotel room, you're out, you know, and certainly if you rape someone, you're out. But there are issues that go right to the top here. You know, we'll all remember Shamima Begum, the runaway ISIS bride, and the long battle to remove her British nationality. And she is not the only individual that the government has tried and faced a bitter battle, trying to strip them of their nationality if they have dual origin or dual passport or whatever. And time and again, what happens is that activist lawyers, lefty, meddling, interfering lawyers, who in my opinion are not working in the national interest, quite the opposite, actually block the Home Office from doing what it needs to do.
Yeah, exactly right. And then probably that's the cherry on the cake is the one on page 15 of the Mail today. A migrant who poses a female nurse to work in an A&E department, bizarrely in the same hotel as Lucy Letby, the same hospital rather, the Countess of Chester Hospital. He used the name of agency nurse Joyce George, who's also from Nigeria, as he is, to work as a female nurse without anybody checking his credentials, without anybody asking a question about why he had a clear photograph on his chest of a woman identifying him. Over 2 months, he washed and dressed patients and carried out observations, and it was only when one suspicious patient confronted him and he said, "My name is Joyce, but I'm a man." He can't be deported from the country, apparently, because he's got leave to remain here because he is a dependent of another woman who is a nurse. I mean, it just goes on, this rubbish.
I mean, that story tells you a number of really important things. I mean, first of all, it tells you about the wokery inside the NHS. Why did none of this guy's colleagues notice this?
Right.
And if they did notice it, I think they did notice it, but they didn't dare flag it up for fear of being accused of transphobia. Or they were wanting to be what the NHS teaches its staff to be. And I when I say teachers, I mean really does teach them. They do these courses. They were being good trans allies. So they didn't want to say anything because that isn't part of being a trans ally. Or maybe they'd be accused of a microaggression.
Yes.
The sort of things the NHS obsesses about. But I'd just like to make one other point about this. Why did no patients flag this up earlier? Well, I'll tell you why. Because they were so damn grateful to see any nurse whatsoever. I mean, it probably wasn't an actual... I don't know what the guy's actual qualifications were. Perhaps very little.
I don't think he had any.
Well, I think what that tells you is just how desperate so many patients are if they're in A&E in an emergency setting. They're just really, really damn glad to be seen by anyone. You know, you wait hours and hours and hours and hours, and then some bloke calling himself Joyce rocks up. Are you going to argue with that? You're just going to be like, oh, thank God, you know, maybe someone's finally going to process me to the next stage, which is when I might actually see one of those lesser spotted endangered species known as a doctor.
God, I mean, I never thought of that, but you're absolutely right. What a terrible, terrible indictment of the NHS.